We are back and busy. Hello, my fam. It is Perez, the queen of all media, the original influencer, and your #1 source for everything It Ends With Us saga. I already made a video today about a big ruling from Judge Lyman. Watch that to be fully caught up. This video is about the Jed Wallace of it all. Jed Wallace is the digital expert that Baldoni and the Wayfarer parties hired last year. Subpoena Vanderwoozen claims that he, Jed Wallace, is responsible for this untraceable smear campaign against her. Baldoni and the Wayfarer parties, however, allege that all that Jed Wallace did was monitor social media. They are adamant that there was no smear campaign. Listen, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I believe Justin Baldoni, but I'm not on his team. And I'm definitely not on her team. I don't believe her. I'm on the team of the truth. That is what matters to me. I remember vividly this text exchange between Baldoni's publicist, Jen Abel, and his crisis communications expert, Melissa Nathan. You remember which one I'm talking about? They were congratulating or happy about Jed's work. The way I read that, he did something. Jed Wallace helped to shift things or did something important enough to get Melissa Nathan and Jen Abel excited and happy. I doubt they'd have that reaction just from him monitoring social media, right? And some of the Baldoni hardcore folks might come at me, but I don't care. I really care about the truth. And that's why I really hope neither party settles. There's been chatter about a settlement, but I want this and need this to go to court. And I've said this before also. I think it's going to be like a split verdict situation. She might not be able to prove sexual harassment, but she might be able to prove retaliation and smear campaign. So, outstanding, we still have this Jed Wallace motion to dismiss. He was not initially a party to the litigation brought against Baldoni and the Wayfarer parties by Colleen Hoover's bestie. And he, Jed Wallace, was the first to file. Before he was added in the amended complaint, he sued her in Texas, where he lives and works. And there's that law that whoever files first, the trial happens there, is my understanding from somebody who's learned a lot about the law, but is not a lawyer. Nor do I ever pretend to be a lawyer or a legal expert. Additionally, Wallace, whom I mentioned lives and works in Texas, is also arguing that Blunderbuss Lively has no jurisdiction over him in her New York City trial. Those are two very solid arguments, and I think the judge should dismiss him. But that hasn't happened yet. No ruling on the motion to dismiss, and depositions are some already happening and much more about to happen. So prior to his deposition, Jed Wallace's lawyers sent a letter to the judge asking for a protective order. He argued that his clients hire him during very sensitive times, and he works with a lot of celebrities, and the association being out there would be damaging to the clients. He offers a lot of different services, including even helping some of his clients with substance abuse. Not exactly sure how. He didn't go into detail with that, but I thought they made a very fair case to the judge, saying, look, we don't think it's relevant to name who our clients are, but Jed Wallace, me, and my company, Street Relations, are willing to testify as to the kinds of services, what exactly we do. Well, I thought this was a stretch, but the high school graduates' attorneys argued to the judge, no, it's important for us to know who the clients are because that could help us theoretically. Literally, that was the argument they made. It could help us trace the untraceable. It could help us draw conclusions and figure things out if we know who else he's worked with. So, this is what the judge has to say. Just moments ago, he ruled the following. Jed Wallace and Street Relations, and together the Wallace defendants, move for a protective order preventing Street Relations from having to disclose any name in its client base beyond those identified as parties in Lively's complaint. For the reasons that follow, the motion is denied. Wah, wah. I'm excited to hear this. Judge Lyman says, the Wallace defendants argue that the identities of its clients are not relevant to any claim in Lively's complaint, and that sharing their identities would be an undue burden because the services performed by Street Relations are highly sensitive and confidential. Makes sense to me. Relevancy under Rule 26 is to be construed broadly to encompass any matter that bears on or that reasonably could lead to other matters that could bear on any issue that is or may be in the case. The identities of Street Relations clients are relevant because they reasonably could lead to information bearing on the issues in this case. Lively seeks to understand whether Street Relations has engaged in campaigns for other clients similar to the campaign alleged in this case. If Street Relations has participated in digital campaigns for other clients to harm the reputation of third parties, it is more likely to have done so here, as Lively alleges. Street Relations represents that it will testify about the services it provided for its anonymous clients, but Lively is entitled to test for herself whether the digital footprints of other clients have similarities to the work Street Relations is alleged to have done here, and to do so at a level of granularity that will not be addressed by a representative's general testimony about the type of services provided. Also, the judge reminds that the information within the scope of discovery need not be admissible in evidence to be discoverable. The fact that Street Relations' client list is sensitive and confidential does not constitute an undue burden that would justify a protective order. But why not? I don't agree with this. The court has already entered a protective order in this case, preventing the disclosure of confidential material. This is sufficient to account for Street Relations' confidentiality interests here. The motion for a protective order is denied. But this whole concept of an untraceable smear campaign is fascinating to me. On one hand, I don't think Jed Wallace should be a party in this lawsuit. On the other hand, I don't think the names of the clients are really relevant, especially because good luck trying to prove anything. I'm curious to see what their findings are, if any. And remember, Melissa Nathan worked with Jed Wallace before, and Melissa Nathan also worked with Johnny Depp. Did an untraceable smear campaign happen against Amber Heard? So, the day is not over yet. I'm guessing that we will be getting even more developments, more rulings, more motions. Who knows what's going to happen today? Everybody took the holiday off and they're back with a vengeance. Until I see you next, though, thoughts on this, thoughts on anything, let's discuss everything, you know where, in the comments section.